So, all right, let's get started. So, thank you so much for joining to this webinar. My name is Dionys Shimbi. I work for Leroy Children Africa. I will be moderating this session, and also I will host the some of the sessions, including the Q&A session. Again, just a reminder, as you see on your screen, there are some key housekeeping items that would make this discussion be more interactive. So you might be seeing 3 different Zoom features. The first one is translation available. You will find this discussion translated from English to Swahili. And this is available for anyone who wants to interact with us in Swahili. There is also a chat box at the bottom of your screen. This is available for you to share your comments, thoughts, and also you will be able to introduce your name, title, which organization or country you are joining us from. And at the bottom of your screen, you also see the Q&A icon. Please use that room to share with us your questions that we will address at the end of discussion. Yeah, so yes, the webinar is about effective models of empowerment for marginalized youth. We have different set of presenters who will be taking us through various experiences that they have learned from different programs that they have been implementing in various areas. You may, I will share with you a list of presenters at the end of the session. But I just wanted to share with you some few things as a context to this webinar. We all know youth empowerment is attracting much attention in most of the areas that we are working. As we all know, globally, youth accounts for a significant number of most of the population. This is the same also in the East African community, whereby the youth accounts for over 30% of the overall population. Despite this significant number of youth population in these countries, they are still facing a number of challenges, including lack of decent employment. Most of them are also experiencing limited access to quality healthcare and education. And there is a minimal participation or involvement in decision-making process. There are several policies and guidelines that the countries have been developing, and this is the case also for the Tanzanian government, whereby through various strategies, we have been able to develop different policies and strategies aiming at empowering the youth, improving gender equality, and also promoting inclusion of marginalized population. And there are different programs that have been implemented in the country that aims at promoting or consisting to the overall national development goals. Now, through this webinar, we will be able to see different models implemented by different partners, including RCA and RILE Africa, in working with marginalized youth. The presentation will highlight key considerations to achieve sustainable youth empowerment. We will also hear from our colleagues in Kenya who will be presenting about experience from the developed curriculum of life skills for youth who are transitioning from care homes to independent living. We have a good lineup of presenters, as I have just said, and the first presenter will be Mary Gatama. Mary Gatama is a program manager who works at Leroy Children Africa. She will be sharing with us experience in implementing youth association model. She will be followed by engineer Rosaline Marie, who works as a national director for Leroy Africa an organization that works to create vibrant, sustainable, and rural communities in Tanzania. Roslyn has over 15 years experience in management and has worked in different industries, including forestry, tourism, and renewable energy. Her current work involves working with the most vulnerable people, including girls, people with a disability, and women in rural areas. Roslyn will be joined by Gift as a co-presenter for this important presentation. Together, they will be presenting about Lila in Africa Youth Empowerment Model, known as Imarika Kijana. We will learn on how this model has helped out-of-school female in rural areas in opening up their mindset and transforming their future. And then our final presenter is Samora Asere and Rahabu Nyawira. Samora is the child protection and alternative care practitioner. He has a personal experience having brought up in institutional care for over 10 years. He currently sits at the board of the Kenya Society of Caregivers as a board chair. The Kenya Society of Caregivers is a registered network of young people above 18 years who spend part of their childhood in residential care and rehabilitation centers. Rahab is also a social worker for care reform. She is also the vice chair of the Kenya Society of Caregivers Board. She is passionate about children's rights, is committed and has contributed greatly to various initiatives to inform and influence policy on care reform and alternative care through advocacy. So jointly, Samora and Rahab will co-present about life skills curriculum developed for youth who are transitioning from care homes to independent living. So I welcome all of you, and I really look upon having a very fruitful discussion. And to start with, I would now take this pleasure to welcome Mary Gatama to take us through the first presentation. Karibuni sana. Over to you, Mary.
Thank you, Dionys, for that good introduction and also for providing us the context of this webinar. I'm really excited to share about our work at Railway Children Africa, and particularly on how we have applied the Youth Association model, and also to be able to co-present with fantastic presenters. So I'm really excited. So I will take you through the Youth Association model that we as Railway Children, we are applying when it comes to supporting street-connected youth to support with their transitioning from living and working on the streets to being able to become self-reliant, have secure accommodation, and be able to support themselves without having to rely on the streets, to rely on the streets. So Youth Association model, it targets an age group of 15 to 19 years of age, and actually we can go up to 25 years of age. We've adapted this model from Undugu Society of Kenya, that it's actually been implemented for over 20 years now, and it has undergone several external evaluations, and it has shown that it works, especially when it comes to supporting youth that are out of the household and they have street life experience. But I'll also be sharing how it can be adapted to other groups. So as Railway Children, we have implemented this model in Mwanza since 2010, and also with support from USAID Kizazi Kipya through PACT, we've been able to replicate this model in 6 other cities through 6 civil society organizations. That is Baba Watoto Center, Amani Center, IDYDC, Caritas, Chekasana Tanzania, and Kisadet. So it's really a model that has shown us to work, especially in urban settings. So just to go deeper on what the model looks like in its application. So the Youth Association model, as Dionys clearly pointed out, that it's in line with the national policies, particularly the National Youth Development Policy in Tanzania, which is focusing on development issues for the ages between 15 to 35 years of age. And within that, it talks about economic empowerment, employment promotion, HIV/AIDS, and adolescents' reproductive health, support for youth. And particularly, it points out creating opportunities for children living in difficult circumstances, and this including youth, street-connected youth. So the model itself, how does it work and who does it work? How is it applied? How have Railway Children and the partners applied? It's targets for youth that have extended experience living on the streets, that are above 15 years of age. And from experience, we've learned that youth that have extended experience on the streets, reintegration is not a priority for them. So for them, they want self-reliance. So we've used this model to support youth that want to be self-reliant, as well as if they do want family reintegration, we do provide that, but we do focus on self-reliance. So, and it's life skills, it's central, and just to make the support that we are providing sustainable. And I think you'll see throughout the presentations today that life skills is central to making the gains of the self-reliance support sustainable. It's a group model, and it focuses on formalizing informal groups on the streets. So I don't know if you have, most of you had experienced street-connected youth, that they already have informal groups on the streets. And the youth association model focuses to formalize those groups to help them structure themselves in a way they have their own leadership, they have their own rules and of engagement. And really it's structured around weekly meetings and life skill sessions. So each group has an average of 12 to 20 members, depending, and they have their own leadership. So they have the chairperson, the secretary, the treasurer, and they're able to manage their own businesses. I mean, their own personal businesses. And it focuses on equipping them with information and skills that result to positive behavior change, especially when with street-connected youth, based on their life experience on the streets, they adapt to behaviors that could affect how they're able to take advantage or, access social services that are maybe available to them. So behavior change is key to the youth association model. How does the support package look like? This is the support package of the youth association model. And for direct services, so we do group sessions, weekly group sessions, that we do a lot of games and sports. And that's really to focus on building rapport, ensuring that there's positive interaction between the youth. We do individual assessment to be able to develop individual care plans for each of the youth that is in the group. And this is important because, as we know that, the needs of one person differs from the next. So it's good to really be able to identify what are the needs of the individuals in the group, as well as support them through the group process. So we do provide a lot of life skill session. And as I go to the next slides, you will be seeing what kind of life skills are we providing. We build them the awareness on what options are there for them in terms of what trades they could engage in based on their interest, but also we ensure that they understand, how the market is, what is marketable, what if they were to pursue a certain trade, is it marketable? Where is the market for it? Or where is there demand for it? We also provide transitional housing, and the transition housing is provided for, as the way it states, it's transitional. It's only provided at a point where they are maybe, for example, in a vocational training, so that they're not going for the training and going back to the streets. And actually, some of them already are able to do this for themselves. So, but for those that really need this, we do provide it. So I will not go through each of the services that we provided, but I just wanted to highlight that key to the support that we provide is HIV support services. And so accompaniment to HTC services. for those that are HIV positive, we ensure that we are supporting them through ART adherence and supporting them through that process and being able to link them with the services that are available. So as I mentioned, the youth association model, it has 4 stages. And so one of the first stage is identification and formation stage. And here the focus is supporting the youth to formalize their informal groups. So they're able to commit to the process of the youth association model. Here we take our time to clarify expectations. Of course, when we start engaging with the youth, they may have very high expectations on their organizations. They may have like a different perspective of what the organization is going to support. So we make it clear that it's clear on what is the organization, what is the role of the organizations, what is the role of the group itself. So there's ownership just from the very start. So the activities that happen during this stage, you have the weekly meetings, they are setting their own rules, they are setting their goals. We're also providing a lot of immediate support in terms of linkage to HIV services, medical support, just to be able to, to address to their immediate needs as they go through the group model. And one of the things to note is that this model is a 2-year process. So each stage could take up to 6 months, but depending on how the group progresses through the stage. So in identification and formation stage, what are indicators of success is that we start to see members are attending actively on the set day, the day that they have agreed. They have their elected leadership, they are following their own rules. The second stage is the capacity building stage. And here is the stage that we focus on providing a lot of life skills. And some of the life skills that we provide includes sexual reproductive health, HIV/AIDS sessions, drugs and substance abuse sessions, decision-making sessions. And really with street connected youth, as I mentioned, there's also, maybe they have adapted some survival behaviors. So we are looking to see behavior change. So then they can be able to, for example, being able to attend a vocational training apprenticeship and be committed to that process. So also at this point, we do provide vocational and apprenticeship placements. And when they finish the placements, then we're able to link them to employers. So what are the indicators of success for this particular stage is that we start to see that the youth members have completed their training. They have their own plan. They have their own set of goals, either both individually and as a group. And also the organization itself, us as an organization, because we also have a plan for each group, like what is it that we'd like to see happen. So we start to see that there's change in terms of behavior change, terms commitment to the vocational support. Most of them are completing their training, and some of them are even absorbed in the areas of apprenticeship. Empowerment stage, this stage is where we really have minimal support. So it's really the group that is leading with their own change. They are starting to utilize the knowledge and skills they have acquired. They are making significant steps. So you'll see some of the youth are able to rent a place to stay. They're able to, in terms of even hygiene, they're able to keep proper hygiene. Their decision making, if an individual had a problem with drugs or substance abuse, then that has either diminished drastically, and they're able to really commit to employment, for example. So the youth association model also has one of the most cool thing about the association model is we also identify youth facilitators. So youth facilitators are youth that have gone through the youth association model, and we have seen significant change, and they're coming back to be for peer-to-peer support. So they come to support our project staff in actually facilitating the youth association groups. They are co-facilitating with us side by side. And why this is important is when the youth see that it's possible, the change has happened to their peers, then they're motivated even to go through the whole process and also for their own change. So we also focus on supporting the youth association groups to register with the government as community-based organization. And this enables them to access support beyond what they're receiving from us as an organization. So they are able to be self-reliant, and it's also part of the sustainability part of this youth association model. We support them with individual to get national identification cards. There are some that probably they don't have birth certificates. We do provide that. And this helps them to be able to benefit from other resources that are within the society, government programs. And they're also able to, because some of them also have their own children, they're able to support their own families. So the indicators of success here is that we see improved livelihood among the members. There's group cohesion, they're supporting each other. They're also supporting us in rescuing younger children on the streets. And this is one of the core agreement we have with the youth association groups, that they help with rescuing and also protecting the young children on the streets. From our own experience, it has shown that the young children on the streets, part of the perpetrators of violence towards the young children is actually the older youth on the streets. So if we engage the older youth through this process, then we are protecting the young ones that are on the streets and also helping in terms of rescuing them quicker, because the youth themselves are on the streets. They are present on the streets maybe more hours, more days than we are as an organization. So I wanted to read out some of in terms of the project outcomes, some of the quotes that I thought spoke to really speak volumes when it comes to the change that is happening with the youth that we work with. So I'll just hear some quotes, but one of them here, 17 years old, Rashid, he says, this project has provided us with a lot of information. I realize now that the community does not give birth to a child. Does not give birth to a child. The name the community has used to describe us street kids has caused us to be abused, but it can be one of the ways to fight against the abuse. Our trainers have told us that we and children in other houses are the same, all equal with no difference. Then another quote is from Amid, who is 15 years of age. My life was very difficult. I would wake up and go to the dump site to pick up bottles and trash. I am so grateful because after joining this group, it helped me to develop self-awareness. I came to be aware that what I was doing in the past was so wrong. So I am grateful. So this is really, the several quotes is about the change that the youth themselves have. They are speaking of the change they have seen as a result of being in this youth association model, in terms of behavior change, in terms of how they view themselves and how they see themselves, and the self-awareness that comes along with that. So as a program, we are tracking two major outcomes. In terms of one of the indicators we are tracking is youth with sustainable livelihood and safe accommodation. And as you can see here, so our target was to support 1,000, that we will achieve 1,500 youth that will have sustainable livelihood. That is by having safe accommodation, having 3 meals a day. And we've been able to achieve 97%. That is 1,449 of this. So it's, and of course we cannot say that we cannot attribute all the success from the youth association model, because we are utilizing community resources. As I said, we are linking these groups with we are supporting them to register as a community-based organization, and they're able to access other resources. So through the linkages, they're able to access much more resources that we are able to provide as an organization. Also, in terms of well-being, we are looking at how, for example, the well-being looks at their physical, emotional, and psychological well-being. How many meals a day they are able to access, their behavior, and how do they feel about themselves. So here, I mean, the achievement we've had. So we had said as an organization, we wanted to support 1,247. We wanted to see 1,247 youth. We've been able to achieve 1,805. And this is out of the 2,000 youth that we've been able to engage through this program. If I go next. Mark, please help with the next slide. Sorry, thank you. So why is the youth association model important? One is that youth living on the streets are transformed into productive individuals. They're able to live in decent accommodation, meet their day-to-day needs, and those of their dependents. So we are breaking the cycle. So we are ensuring that their children, the children of this youth, will not have to survive on the streets. The children they'll have a chance, to access education, to grow up in a family. So we're ensuring that actually the costs to society will drop drastically because of this intervention. Then perception and attitudes that the larger community have about street-connected youth are challenged. And this has been evidenced mainly through, for example, we had some youth that we supported through the VETA. And when the VETA saw the commitment from the street-connected youth, they were surprised that, I mean, these are street-connected youth and they're able to perform even better compared to youth that are coming from a household. And that really starts to challenge the perception. Same with the police, when they see youth association groups maybe doing activities that they didn't really expect that street-connected youth would be involved in community activities, when they are doing community cleanups. That challenges the perception that the community has. So it's a really good way trying to shift the perception about street-connected youth and being able to provide an opportunity for the community even to be able to support even them more. And again, as I mentioned, one of the things about why we work with street youth is, yes, to support them, but also to protect the young ones on the streets. And this has proved to work very well in terms of reducing violence towards the young children on the streets, and also being able to rescue them quite quickly, because the youth are able to inform us, and we're able to rescue, and even able to refer them to the project. And also, it's also a platform for them to access HIV education and other services. The mentorship approach, what I mentioned as youth facilitators, has worked very well. And also in terms of being able to support their peers through behavior change. This has been quite effective. So what are the opportunities for the youth association model? This model is easily adaptable to other groups of vulnerable youth. It also provides a good value for money. It's a group approach. There's clear sustainability plan for the youth association groups. So that reduces the cost, the level of investment. The peer-to-peer support also ensures that the organization, the group is not relying on the organization for their own change. They are actually relying and supporting each other. Then another one is it enables the youth group to access more support beyond what the organization is providing. And I think the last one I've already mentioned, that it has potential to rally the community in terms of supporting the street connected youth. Once the community is able to see the change, once they're able to see that this youth, they have so much potential, they're more than happy to really be able to support the youth on the streets. And this has been evident, especially in the apprenticeship placements. We've had business owners even waiving the fee that they would normally charge for apprenticeship, just because they want to be part of the change that they can see, which is, I might say, quite cool. So what have we learned? The process of setting up the youth having their own self-help groups help them to achieve autonomy and also to become sustainable. And the intervention continue even without any external support. So as I said, it's a 2-year process, but if the youth, they're able to continue even beyond us and be able to, stand on their own and be able even to do more than even what we thought as an organization we would achieve. Then the access to training opportunities become ineffective if it doesn't consider the context of the youth. And this is particularly has been evidenced. So as I mentioned, we've provided vocational support for a number of youth. And at the beginning, the youth struggled because some of them have maybe low, in terms of formal education, they have low level of formal education. And what the VETA did, they were able to contextualize their courses to be able to help the youth be able to understand and to engage with the course itself. So, because for example, the language of, communication in these courses, it's English, we're able to contextualize that. And then they're also able to contextualize, providing more practical than more theoretical. So it's really important that whichever program for the youth, it really takes into consideration the circumstances, the context for the youth for you to be able to adapt the support. Then apprenticeships have worked very well, I think, because they are more practical, it's learn by doing. They have worked very well for street connected youth. And we've had youth that have done very well in bakery, garages, tailoring, saloon. They have done extremely very well. And again, mental health support and transitional housing does enhance the gains and the sustainability to change the lives of the youth. And this is really based on, for mental health, it's quite important for them to be able to even to engage with the whole process. And we may not provide that directly as an organization, but we do provide the linkages. And also the transitional housing, it's quite important. So I think that's the end of my presentation, but I wanted to play a short video of one of our beneficiaries in Mwanza, and just to hear her own story and how she has experienced going through this youth association model and what has been her takeaways from the youth association model. So karibuni sana.
Mimi naitwa Josephina Josephati, nina umri wa miaka 24. Ni mfaika wa Lelu. Mwaka 2007 nilitoka nyumbani nikiwa na umri wa miaka 14. Niliamua kuingia mtaani kwa sababu maisha ya nyumbani yalikuwa magumu. Niliishi mtaani kwa miaka 13 kabla sijakutana na Lelu. Nikiwa mtaani nilikutana na changamoto nyingi, ikiwa ni changamoto ya kupata ujauzito mara 2 kwa kurubuniwa, kukosa chakula, kukosa mavazi na kutengwa na jamii. Mwezi wa 4 mwaka jana, nikiwa mtaani nilikutana na Lelu na kujiunga na kikundi cha Chikamua kilicho mkoani Mwanza. Kupitia kikundi hicho niliweza kupata mahitaji muhimu kama chakula, mavazi na sehemu ya kuishi. Shirika la Lelu Children ilitupatia mafunzo mbalimbali kama stadi za maisha, usafi wa mwili, kujitambua, uongozi na kuwa sehemu ya jamii, ambavyo vilinisaidia niweze kujitambua na kuwa sehemu ya jamii. Pia nilikuwa mmoja wa vijana ambapo tulipata elimu ya biashara ndogo ndogo na usimamizi wa biashara. Kisha nikapewa mtaji wa kuanzisha biashara yangu. Baada ya kuanzisha biashara yangu, nilipata mahitaji muhimu, chakula, mavazi na sehemu nzuri ya kuishi. Kwa sasa ninajitegemea kwa kulipa kodi ya nyumba. Pia ninajumuika na jamii na watu wengine. Ninawashukuru sana Lele Children kwa kunisaidia niweze kubadilisha maisha yangu. Ni matumaini yangu kwamba Lele Children itaendelea kuwahudumia na kuwawezesha watoto na vijana wanaoishi na kufanya kazi mitaani waweze kujitegemea. Asanteni na kunisikiliza na karibuni sana. Mimi naitwa
Thank you. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. I forgot to tell the English speakers to turn on the English translation. I hope you were able to. Yeah, but it's really, this is one of our beneficiaries. She herself has children, and she's also been provided with parenting skills to be able to support her children, just a way that we also breaking the cycle. So I would like to welcome Rosalie. She's just coming right after me. Asanteni sana.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mary, for a wonderful presentation about the work that you're doing. Amazing work. So hi, everyone. My name is Roslyn. I work for an organization called Lyra in Africa as the national director. My colleague, Gift, is unable to join us in this presentation due to an emergency situation. But, you know, we are excited, we are honored to be part of the team presenting here. And we will be sharing our model and what it is that we are doing and how are we breaking the cycle. You can read more about us on our website and on our social media pages, Lyra in Africa. So very quickly, Lyra was started first in UK as a charitable organization registered, and then later in 2015, it was registered here in Tanzania, even though we already started work here in 2012. And our vision and mission is really looking at, you know, how do we create economically vibrant, sustainable rural communities in the country where children can complete their education and where girls have economic opportunities. And we're going to talk about why girls as our focus target group. Even though we do work with girls, we do work with women, men in the communities, as well as youth. At the moment, we are only based in Iringa, Southern Highlands of Tanzania. So what is our approach? At Lyra, and specifically in line with this theme of the conference, how are we working into breaking the cycle? There is 4 key things that we are doing. The first one is we believe that if you educate the girl child, you're bringing a change to a society. And this is long-term change to a society, and which leads to healthier families. And our focus is purely in the rural areas. So we're looking at this group of vulnerable children that do not get equal opportunities for education, for exposure, for a lot of things, and they're living in a cycle of poverty. We also believe that when you have economically empowered societies, there is a higher chance of those societies to actually educate their children and therefore bring long-term change. And then we also believe in unlocking potential. Everyone, every person has potential. A lot of people, especially in marginalized communities, they do not get the opportunity to have that potential unlocked. But when it is unlocked, then you reduce the poverty cycle, you reduce the sexual abuse, reduce the violence, gender-based violence, violence at home, and eventually the street children. And then we are looking at a specific group, which is the youth. And for our program, and I will talk a little bit about it. Our program targets youth in the rural areas between the ages of 15 and 28, even though we have signed up youth a little bit, slightly under 15 and older than 28. And what we do is we show them the many resources that surround them in their communities so that they can actually appreciate the places where they live, where they come from, and start their change within their own societies. And we believe that because this is the generation, the next generation, that's the future of the country, the future of the nation, these will actually be the long-term change agents in their communities. So that's how we work. And we have 4 main pillars for implementing our programs. The very first one, which started in 2012, is looking at the communities and giving an opportunity for the girl to actually be able to complete secondary education. So if you come to Iringa, I mean, if you're in Tanzania, I think you know that most of the house girls, people say, oh, house girls are from Iringa. And it's very easy for parents to just send their girls away. But again, also, if you move around the communities, you will see that there's a lot of girls who are very young and they already have children. So I love the video that you played, Mary, which you know, this girl talks about at 14 years of age, she left the home because of poverty. And, you know, within a few years, she had 2 children. It's the same situation here. But then we said, let us give them a chance to complete secondary education. Now, there are many barriers. And we just work on one barrier. We built hostels in rural-based secondary schools that are government-owned so that the children have a safe place to stay and they can complete education. But then to complete education without passing your exams, it means that you return back to the same cycle of poverty. So what we did is we introduced digital learning, and I'll talk a little bit about it, through purely offline content. And then we take them through that content, not just the girls, but the whole school, so that they can actually have an increased opportunity to perform well academically. And then number 3 is we're looking at the entire community where we build our hostels. How do we empower them economically? And we have invested in training and creating village savings and loans associations. We train them into different business skills, etc. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And then lastly, if you are still a youth in the rural communities, you either dropped out of school, you ran away from school, you fell pregnant, so you could not continue, or you actually completed Form 4, and then you are still in the communities, you don't have steady income, then we have a program, and that program we call it Imarika Kijana, or Empowered Youth, and that will be the focus of our presentation. But I'll very quickly take you through the other 3 pillars before we zoom into the youth model. So, in terms of hostels, we have, since 2012 up to today, we have built 12 hostels in 9 rural secondary schools, and we do this jointly with the government and the communities. Every year we have about 1,000 girls live in our hostels. And what is most important is that the pregnancies that were reported in those schools, it's 0 pregnancies for all the girls that are living in hostels. And we have achieved higher academic performance for girls who are living in hostels. And I'm not sharing the statistics here today, but very happy to do that for anyone who would be interested. And we have seen schools perform with, the top performers being girls. Traditionally, it has been boys and very few. So you'll find that 80 girls complete secondary, 0 have been selected to continue. And now those numbers are just increasing in terms of those who are passing, and also the coin is flipping. These are some of the hostel girls. In some of our hostels, we have our own approved design, which is sustainable, and I'll just skip through that. The second is the communities. We are looking at the communities as just to empower them economically. These are rural-based communities. They don't have any access to any formal banking services or any form of finance services. And through the proven VSLA methodology, they are able to actually use their own money and start saving, and then start taking loans from their groups and either expanding what they're doing or starting new businesses and growing them. And we have seen a huge change over the years. We have seen more than 5 times growth in terms of their income. As we speak, we've had 64% of all the participating members in the communities being female. And that is very important, because when a woman is empowered, they support their children, they support their families. We can see their assets are growing. At the moment, they are a net worth of about $390,000 US. And for every program, we are looking at sustainability. And for this particular one, our key to sustainability is what we call the community-based trainers. So we have a big group of community members who have been trained by Lyra and who continue to be supported by Lyra to understand the methodology, to support the groups in their communities, and to also start new ones. And that model has worked very well. This is a picture of one of our VSLA members who's doing really great in terms of crop. And then in terms of digital learning, so we would like the children to perform well. When we started this in 2017, we started that through tablets and Rachels. For those who know Rachels, it's an offline hotspot device. Remember, these are rural areas. There's no connectivity. And there is also the cultural barriers as to the dangers of internet. So you want to introduce a resource that does not have the risk of internet. So everything is purely offline. And either you have tablets and Rachels, or you have a computer lab fully fledged, and with content that has already been pre-loaded. And we provide training to teachers and students. How do you access those materials? And what is very important is that these materials match the Tanzanian curricular system. So it is easy for the students to identify with the content, to kind of navigate within the content. And they get a lot of quizzes, and they get all the notes. So in schools in the rural areas where we are, even if there are a number of teachers who are not available, they can still use the content that is available for them to study, because by the end of the day, they need to sit for their national examinations. In addition to that, because we would like the students to think outside the box, they are used to chalkboard teaching since they started primary, but we want them to think outside the box. So we started the ICT clubs, and through the ICT clubs, we coach them and we take them through different areas where it helps them to ask questions, to explore. They have to come up with ideas. They have to come up with designs. They really have to think outside the box. And then we also empower them to compete with other schools, either regionally or, either inter-school competition or regionally competing with other students from outside Tanzania. Now, this is a fantastic confidence builder. And I can tell you that the children who have participated in these competitions have all grown up and stepped up and really performed well academically. And these will be the future change makers of their communities. So if you go on to our Imarika Kijana, our youth empowerment, program, what is it about? So what we looked at our youth, and when we started this program, it was called a school leavers program. So we were saying that there's more than 93% of students do not advance beyond Form 4. So let us start this school leavers program. And we were looking at, this is the future, that's the largest. And Dionys, when he was introducing the session, he was talking about the large number of youth. And of course, we know that Tanzania is among those with the largest young population. And we believe that this youth group is the one that will drive innovation and economic growth. And most of them are in the rural areas. And if we really want to advance as a nation, we have to invest in empowering and educating this very unique resource. Now, however, when you look at the negative side, we have more than, a big number, that's 40% of the adolescents, they are left out of quality lower secondary education. And we're talking about quality, not just secondary education. And you would find that only 67% that complete education will not even qualify for advanced level. And majority of these are rural based. And then when they finish Form 4 and they that's it for them, the parents do not know if there's any alternative for their children. And the children eventually just run away from home. They run away from poverty. They believe that if I run away and go to a city somewhere, my life will become better. And then of course they end up in a trap of an even worse life than they had back at home. So they don't have options. We have youth that ran away to town and they got pregnant. They came back to the village. They went back to a different city, came back pregnant, second time, and then decided to settle. But then when they settle, they don't have capital, they don't have networks, they don't have skills, they don't have any knowledge. How do I step from where I am to actually come out as a person? They have no idea of any of the resources. They have a lot of resources surrounding them, but they don't see them as resources. And then what is also very important is they lack exposure. They do not know at all. What is the world out there? What can it offer? What can I offer to the world? How can I be part of this world? And the end result is that they continue to be trapped in low income subsistence activities, and they continue to live in that cycle of poverty. So what do we do at Lyra? And the Imarika Kijana program has three main focus areas. The first one is, as I said, out of school, rural-based youth. We are not in the urban areas. Our group is between 15 and 28. We provide entrepreneurship training and business skills and provide them with training on financial services. And then we provide an innovative alternative education model for those who would like to go back to school. And I'll just take us very briefly through the program. This program, when it started, we worked with an organization that is also based in Iringa, Ara Labs, Tanzania. And Ara Labs have a fantastic model, which it only focuses on transforming youth. And it talks about a growth mindset, but before you can have a growth mindset, you have to have a mindset change. So when we start training by first, sort of calming them down and let them think about their life to date. Let them map their life to date. Let them be able to face the challenges that they have faced. Let them be able to speak out, to map their life before the training. And our model will start with development of a growth mindset, and then we zoom into training on entrepreneurship. And we teach them different modules based on entrepreneurship and business skills. But then we do not end there, because we believe that, if I'm a rural-based youth, I don't know the world out there. So what we do, which is very key to our model, is we have a component on exposure visits and mentor sessions. Now, exposure visits means that I take you out of your village and either bring you to the urban area, or we take you out to a region which is outside Iringa, and they see, and then we pair them with mentors based on the areas, based on the opportunities that they have in the communities. And then the other thing is we teach them how to embrace technology for business. And lastly, we teach them how to create their youth savings associations and effectively manage the low incomes that they have, and use them as startup capitals. And I'll just go into, yes. So I'll very quickly go into some of the successes. The sustainability of this program is based on youth training fellow youth. So we have developed a model that is run by youth. The youth that we have trained from the communities, they have been able to reach more than 1,200 youth so far, and it is growing. And these are really the trainers. And then there's a huge stakeholder engagement. The program is accepted at the regional level all the way to the communities. We include people with disability. Most of youth are single parents, moms, and then the program is very flexible. And I would like to I'm going to just very quickly share this. This slide here shows some happy faces. But one of these, the three of them, is now exporting baskets abroad. She is a single parent. She was in the village. She didn't know that this is an opportunity. She met a mentor who is doing baskets, and she saw that this is an opportunity. Put together a group of 49 people in her community, and together they're doing a fantastic job. The other one is an orphan. And she was abandoned, but then she heard about this program, and she's now producing a range of different products that are sold in the country. And there are many other examples of the youth that we are seeing. Lastly, at Lyra, all our programs are focused on the SDGs. Our performance is about 79%, and we're very happy. And by the end of the day, we believe that we are breaking the cycle by giving the girl the opportunity to become someone, and believing that this child will be the game changer. In the future, we are also giving the community economic empowerment, and we are also giving the youth the opportunity to unlock their potential and become someone, and thus breaking their cycle. Thank you very much, and I will pass this over to the next presenter, Samora and Rahab, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Rosalind, for the wonderful presentations and the models you are using in Tanzania for the youth. My name is Samora Asere. I'm the chair of Kenya Society of Caregivers in Kenya. I will do my presentation. I will co-present with Rahab, who will introduce herself as she also takes us through other slides. Quickly, I'll get into it. And say Kenya Society of Caregivers is a network of caregivers by caregivers that started in 2009 as a CBO. Then we transformed to a society in 2013 just to accommodate members who are falling out of the area that we are registered in. And our aim always is to connect, inform, and transform. And just speaking into this perspective of children, street connected children, and bring in my personal experience and say, I was rescued from the streets and taken into an institution. And seeing the models that are applying here or are used to empower street connected children, and just to say, among the membership of Kenya Society of Caregivers, we have around 700. I know most of our members share the same experience with me, who are rescued from the streets and taken into various institutions of care in Kenya. speaking on the next slide of effective model of empowering marginalized youth, in this perspective, I will talk about the caregivers. I think I've done part of the introduction. I'm saying KESCA is a youth-led organization for and by caregivers. And our aim is to empower young people by providing support to caregivers upon exiting care and provide a unified voice of young people who spend some or all their childhood in residential care. Most importantly, KESCA has been very active and instrumental in shaping, influencing policies in care reform and alternative care processes in Kenya. And we do this through advocacy, where we engage in workshops, in conferences, in walks, public walks and forums. So our mission is to promote the well-being of caregivers and lobby for the rights of institutionalized children. We strive to enhance the social and psychological coping mechanisms through various models that we'll see in our presentations, of young people who have left residential care and create supportive networks as the network we have now for young adults to achieve better life outcomes. Our vision is to see that empowered caregivers are living a meaningful life. And when I speak of empowerment, I speak of the various models we are using to empower these caregivers so that they can fit in and properly be positive contributors in the communities that they live in. I will bring in Rehab to take us through the next slide as she introduces herself. Welcome, Rehab.
Thank you, Samora, for the introduction. I am Rehab Nyawera. I'm currently the Vice Chair of Caregivers. I'll take you through the model that we use to empower caregivers. The model that we currently use is the Practical Life Skills Guide, which is meant to help young people to develop long life skills such as reasoning, analyzing skills, personal care, and interpersonal skills using the behavior change approach. So that's the main aim of this practical skills guidance. It is developed by caregivers for caregivers due to the many challenges shared and experienced by caregivers. So this model brings us all together to be able to deal with experiences that we all have to face, whether in care or out of care. So that's why we have this model in place. The guidebook is designed to be used by caseworkers, caregivers, facilitators who work with caregivers, group project officers who work with caregivers, and also to train the facilitators who also have to work with young people during the session. There are two practical life skill guidance. We have the participants and the facilitators guidebooks, whose sessions are developed using age-appropriate activities and examples and information. So it's based on that because it has to factor in all the different kinds of people who are involved in this process. It aims to offer support to others living care and targets young people between ages 10 to 13 years of age and also 18 to 25 years of age who are in the process of transitioning care and those who have already left care. So that's the main aim. And also the other aim is to ensure these young people are able to gain skills, feel confident and thrive out there in the community. So how do we implement this manual? We implement it through the guidance of a skilled facilitator who is able to work with young people to help them identify and solve problems through structured discussions and guided activities. So that's how they're able to work with the young people through the activities planned during the session. The facilitator's role in this session is to help young people to understand and solve the problems they encounter, maybe by reviewing the content during the session, going through the assignments given during the session to help the young people to practice the skills gained during this session. So that's how we're able to know, are they making sense? Are they applying these skills out there to enable them cope in the community? The sessions are also carried out using various methodologies, such as group case study, stories, role plays, and group discussions, etc. Yes. We in helping the young people, as we said, caregivers, as they move out of the community, they experience a lot of problems. So we focus on these key areas to help them cope. It's through various areas such as focusing on the beginning, the journey, effective communication, keeping myself safe, their health, making safer and healthier choices, gender roles, mapping career paths, money matters, citizenship, living care, and transitioning, and graduation. So all these areas are meant to equip caregivers with such kind of skills to enable them cope outside of home in the community. I'll welcome Samora to continue from there.
Thank you, Rehab. Part of the considerations in these models and how we see that we're effectively engaging marginalized youth, I'll draw it from the Hearts ladder and just concentrate on the five parts and avoiding the three that are always seen as being decorative, manipulative, or tokenistic. And just say this: the degrees of participation is where we are seeing that the roles are assigned but informed, where we are seeing adults decide on the project and children volunteer for it. The children understand the project, they know who decided to involve them and why. Then adults respect young people's views. These are just part of the models that we're encouraging when we're involving or we are working in our various workstations, that we see youth and children are involved in, so that we holistically see that models are effective and are empowering the youth, where we are also seeing they are consulted and informed. The project is designed and run by adults, but children are consulted. They have a full understanding of the process and their opinions are taken seriously. This makes them feel that whatever they contributed to, it is valued, and they feel that they're owning that process, where we are using bottom-up decisions, and we are encouraging either the children and the young people just to be influencers and be part of the change makers. Then it is adult-initiated shared decisions with children. Adults have the initial idea, but young people are involved in every step of the planning and implementation. Not only are their views considered, but children are also involved in making the decisions. And I know this is also, we are applying this in our families, where if you want to involve your children in certain activities or programs, we are always bringing them on the table and have a sitting so that they feel they're included and are participating in decisions that are concerning them. Then it is child-initiated shared decisions with adults. Children have the ideas, set up projects, and come to adults for advice. Then lastly, it is child-initiated and directed, so that we make sure that we're giving them the mandate, and we're also directing them on the way to go and how they need to be part of that process. So these are just some of the considerations on these models. And I will mention that the life skills model, it was a caregiver manual that it was with the help of changing the way we care, we were able to review and just to bring in the ideas and the views on how we wanted the manual to look like. And this is irrespective of just involving a small team, but speaking volumes from the larger team, where we are also having street connected children who are rescued from the streets and brought into institutions of care. But how do we see beyond the experience? How are we involving them and having them sit on the table to be part of decisions and processes involving them, and how do they want to be to contribute to such steps? Part of the key learnings, and just an extract from also a document that we produced as caregivers with the help of changing the way we care. on how to engage caregivers in care reform. And I just took a few points from that. It is a whole document which we are willing to share with also other stakeholders and partners, just to see how are we involving even street connected children and caregivers at large to be part of the care reform and to be part of the wider child protection. So have them be part of a review committee on care reform documents, focusing on whether the information reflects their experience and whether the solution proposed are child and youth friendly. So how are we involving them beyond just telling stories, and how are they contributing to such documents and information? Engage caregivers in the development of various training and capacity building aspects of the program, which in respect to this is part of the life skills manual, part of the document on how to engage caregivers in care reform. Support opportunities for caregivers to engage with government policymakers, including representation on national and subnational working groups. So still also encouraging how are we engaging even the street connected children beyond seeing or beyond being the service recipients, but also be part of the service providers in terms of how are these stories contributing to the documents we want to produce that are working for them and for all of us. Then lastly, ask caregivers to contribute to monitoring frameworks and develop relevant indicators. Ask them what success of care reform would look like, and use that information to develop relevant outcome indicators. Mary and Rosalind both presented on how they're engaging the children and the youth. So also, how are we also making sure that it is a bottom-up decision from ideation to the end of the processes, to the implementation process? How are we even bringing them back to ask them how the programs were, how the ideas they contributed worked for them, worked for the whole program at large? Then the impact of the life skills manual and all other documents to us is, I just narrowed it down. I know there are more and more and more, but thinking and being creative, because this is the exposure or the type of empowerment that the life skills manuals brings to caregivers. More so, I'm talking in respect to those caregivers who are arrested from the streets and have that experience. So the thinking broadens, the creativity in terms of the approach, in terms of how are they even critically looking into things. It's a very diverse and dynamic approach where we are seeing them being able to handle even the stress, the accepting criticism in a positive way, the interpersonal relationship changes. They're even able to know this relationship is not healthy. How can I come out of it? How do I seek help to be part of a healthy relationship? The problem solving and the decision making skills also change with the whole idea on how do I want to be part of a problem, and how do I want to also be part of solving it and making decisions that are impacting on my life or the life of other people. Then where you get to a situation where now you're feeling empathy rather than sympathy of the whole experience, self-awareness and self-management, your communication and collaboration skills changes, and what have you. I will welcome Rehab to take us to the last slide, please.
Thank you, Samora. Fostering meaningful child and youth participation with commitment and adequate resources, young people with lived care experience have the potential to make the most effective information in alternative care from the world child protection. That is the conclusion.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Rehab. Thank you, Mary and Rosalind. That was all from us. And thank you also for listening to us. I'll take it back to you, Dionys. Thank you.
So thank you so much, all the presenters, for this insightful presentation. So we have received several questions, and I have tried to filter them in different themes That way, I'm quite sure that we can cover most of them. However, I think you should not worry. We have another platform that we can follow up with an email to respond in some of the questions that we won't be able to respond. So I want to start with Mary. There is this question that has appeared from different participants. And Rosalind, also, if you might be having an insight, you can also respond. So looking at the models and how you presented, seems like they are really working in most of the communities that you are serving. Is there any way that you are engaging or advocating to the government to adopt these models, including the Youth Association model and also the Imarika Kijana model? Over to you, Mary. You can start, and then Rosalind.
Yeah, so for the Youth Association model, of course, the government are well aware how we are supporting street connected youth, and they're in support of that. And they like the approach that we are supporting them to register the youth groups as community-based organizations so they can benefit from the national resources, especially for the youth programs in Tanzania. So yes, we are engaging and we're working with the government. And so in terms of encouraging the government to adopt the models, I think that's work in progress. Maybe that's where we'll go in the future, but I can't speak to that right now.
Thank you. Rosalind?
Yeah, thank you. Just to add on what Mary has said, for us, we do work with the government. So the program doesn't work without us engaging with the government. They are involved from the initial stages of deciding, where are the areas that are most need the Imarika Kijana model, and we work with the district community development officers, the ward community development officers, and they select the villages where we take the program. But what is very important is that the youth groups are all registered formally under the government system. And the government sets aside, under the district councils, they set aside 10% of their income to support the groups. So 4% goes for youth groups, is 100% for youth groups. 4% is for the other village savings and loans associations. And then 2% is for groups of people with disability. We do have actually groups of people with disability, so they can access the government loans, which are purely interest-free, and they return the money in a cycle of 12 months. And some of our groups have received these government loans. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And if Samora, you have anything with engaging the government to adopt the model and curriculum that you have developed?
Thank you.
Samora.
Thank you. Sorry. The life skills manual, it's a document for and by caregivers, and in this respect, we haven't engaged the government in such. But I know there are documents also from the social protection and the ministry at large that are also helping those children who are in government-run institutions, and I know they are working on such curriculums to empower and engage the youth in such. So ours is not a government entity or a government document, but it is a caregiver document that was produced by the association through the support of various stakeholders and donors, like changing the way we can.
Yeah, thank you so much, Samora. So this is for you, Rosalind. We know the economic hardship, most of the households, especially in the areas that you are working, have been experiencing various kind of violences, particularly violence against children and women. Has Lila economic strengthening approach contributed to reducing instances of violence at household level?
Thank you very much for the question. If we are looking at the model of Lyra, we are looking at empowered communities. We are looking at communities that are sustainable. So building, sustainable models that will support long-term change in the communities, which in turn helps to reduce issues of gender-based violence. It helps to reduce the impacts of sexual abuse. It helps to reduce the huge impact of youth leaving the communities and running away, looking for better places. We do not specifically provide any training or any training on gender-based violence, but we do have a system where we encourage the communities to report, so that if there is any GBV issue that has been raised, it can be channeled to the right institutions. But we do really believe in empowering a community for long-term change in that community, and that is what we're doing.
Okay. So thank you, Rosalind. And I have another question to Mary Gatama on youth association model. As you have just pointed out during your presentation, seems like the youth association model doesn't work for all the youth. There are some whose the youth association model is not an option. How do you support youth who does not want to join the youth association model? And on top of that, if also you have any specific mechanism to help rehabilitation of youth engaging with drug use.
Yeah, so the youth association model, I think from my presentation, I mentioned that we are supporting the individual in the group as well as the group itself. Because we understand one individual is different from the next, the needs are different. So there's individual focus as well as a group focus. And not everybody in the group will move at the same pace, or the change will happen at the same pace. So that's why even within the association groups, we have individual support for individual youth, and the needs are different. For example, what you've said about youth that are struggling with drug addictions, then because as ourselves, we don't have expertise in drug rehabilitation, then we provide linkages to services that are available within the communities. In our context, yes, the drug rehabilitation support is not that accessible because most of them comes with a cost. And we have tried to work with organizations that are providing this support, either to provide a waiver and to be able to support our youth. But that's a service that we mostly provide through linkages. So we try and identify the resources, the drug rehabilitation resources within the communities.
Okay, so thank you, Mary, and over to you, Rosalind, again. How do we hand over all these initiatives? You have just mentioned a lot of approaches and initiatives that Lila Africa is currently working on, because as we all know, community involvement or community participation is of paramount importance to ensure sustainability of whatever intervention that we do implement. How does Lila in Africa promote the community participation in engagement, in making sure that these interventions remain sustainable and keep on serving the communities?
Thank you very much. Our entire model is based on long-term sustainability, and for example, when we're looking at the hostel constructions, that does not happen without the community engagement. At the moment, you will see that the contribution towards the hostel, about 20% to 25% actually, will be contributed by the community and the district. When you look at the Village Savings and Loans Association, the program is really run by the community-based trainers. These are people who live in the communities, who interact on a daily basis with the community members. If you look at our youth program, the Imarika Kijana program, the manual has been developed in Kiswahili. The youth have been trained, and they are the ones who deliver that model in the communities. If you look at the digital learning, we have started training youth who are in those communities to be the digital mentors so that there is sustainability. So all our programs look at the angle of sustainability, and the programs need to be run by the community people themselves. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Roslyn. Another context that has emerged from most of the presentations that were just conducted, and this is actually to you, Mary, as well, on behavior transformation. As we all know, behavior transformation takes a bit longer. It is a process, and it differs from one person to person. Having a group association has a concept of moving them together, regardless of their differences. It happens in groups that some transform after 3 months, while the others take a bit longer, to almost 2 years. How do you go around with the dynamics existing in the single group?
Yeah, so with the youth association model, there's a focus of the individual as well as the group, and we do conduct well-being assessment for each of the individual youth. And behavior change, as we all know, it takes time, and especially for maybe youth that are struggling with addictions, that will take longer than a youth that that are not struggling with that kind of addiction, with that kind of an issue. And also from experience, you've seen girls group tend to progress faster than maybe boys group. I mean, that's another discussion. But how do we balance that? The fact that they are individuals moving at different paces. So yes, it's a group approach. And even when the group is not all the individuals in a group are not progressing at the same pace, what we rely on is the peer-to-peer support, that there are those that are progressing faster in behavior change, and they'll be able to model to their peers what behavior change looks like, or what changes happens when your behavior change and when you do different. And that's really, I think that's the peer-to-peer support. It has been the greatest sort of sustainable way of trying to drive behavior change alongside the life skills that we do provide. So even though the individual may not move at the same pace, the individual that are struggling, they still remain in the group. And hopefully by seeing their peers go through the change process, they are also motivated to do the same. So we don't, unless the group itself decides that they want to, because they also have their own rules, but we don't sort of have a cutoff for those that are maybe struggling with the behavior process.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mary, Roslyn, Rahab, and Samora, for your presentation, and also the way you have responded to the questions. Now, because of time, we need to conclude this webinar here. And thank you so much, all the participants, also for the lively discussion and the questions and comments that you have just posted. We hope to see you in the next webinar. Thank you so much, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.